because when you're here off the bat, then I don't have to talk to nobody. You should have seen it last week. It was really bad.
Oh, yeah.
I was just
What was I doing? Oh,
talking.
yeah.
You know that scene in
Christmas
Scanners when the
parade.
guy's head's
Yes.
gonna blow? Sorry, Brandon. What was that?
I was in a Santa Claus parade. That's what I was doing last Thursday. Yes, it's been a week.
Right. We got your fireworks video still on cue.
Oh yeah.
Welcome everybody to the live stream. I need the minute to set it up, but luckily Brandon's here to help us talk through it. And do
That's
you have
right.
that? Do you have that hate mail today? Is it with you?
Oh, yes. I was told by my boss to bring it home with me. I do have it. I do have the so yeah, I was first one at the station today because well, we had our big turkey drive today. Very successful, I have to say. Um uh, and I get to the station door and I see this piece of paper stuck in the door. It's like, "Oh, what's this?" And I grab it out, off the door and then I open it up and I just start howling laughing as I'm in the studio reading this thing. So so, but this is not the first time this person has done this. So it's like every month or so, he's been doing this since like 2019, 2018 or so.
Every
Every
month.
couple months. And he doesn't like anybody at the station, doesn't like the stations at all, but he's still listening. And that's the funny part because when you like
He
you
works
don't
somewhere where he can't choose.
that's right. So this morning, Buddy here, I've never met the guy, I've never seen the person or anything. He just sneaks out in the middle of the night, so probably, I don't know, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, sticks the piece of paper on the door and then walks away or tapes it on the door and then yeah. Anyways, so he wrote, "You people are so stupid." And then you report, well, I did make a mistake yesterday, so I forgot to take the emergency cart down when I
That's
was
pretty funny
supposed
too.
to. So, put the emergency cart because we had a big accident. So I was like, okay, got this accident out, and I was gonna take it down, and then I forgot to do it. So it's been heck of a day, or heck, yeah. Anyways, so what? So there's an accident, Highway 36, 532, Castles Road. He wrote it in capital letters there. You tell us, then tell us all in the evening. Stay tuned for further updates. I usually do that because if I do have any updates or anything that comes out of the police reports or anything like that, I'll put an update out. But there's nothing that came out. So, okay, we didn't need any updates. So, where are the updates? He says. Were there injuries? There are no updates?
Does he
This
not
is
have
7 hours
Facebook?
later. I don't think he's even on Facebook. So,
Like, who listens to the radio for information?
well, some people do. Well, today that was a good day for radio. Anyways, so what's the point of saying anything? It says at all. Where are the updates? Question mark, question mark. And then your station is such a joke, he says. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. All right. And then he goes on. You call Tuesday Turntable Tuesday, right? And he highlights it. He has big highlighter here, highlights it up. Where's the turntable? He says. There isn't one. How many albums do you have? Zero. You only say it because it's rhymes. That was
It
his
doesn't
letter.
rhyme.
Turntable Tuesday, I guess.
That's not a rhyme. It's like onomatopoeia or something.
Yeah. Anyways,
Definitely not a rhyme. But what do I know? I'm just a poet who put out 6 albums worth of songs.
there you go. There you go. So yeah.
Some of those
And then
songs have rhymes in them.
there are. But I
Can you
have
can
said
you
that
just
wasn't.
show us so people can see the unhinged nature of it? I mean, we'll come back to this during your report.
Oh yeah. So there's the letter. Kind of hard to see, but yeah, it's written in black pen, red highlighter, and he even highlights the word no, and then
So you raise $50,000 worth of turkeys. You
oh
come back
yes.
to the station and you read
Well,
this letter that
actually, this was before we raised $50,000 turkeys. This was right when I got to the station this morning. So
you're like, I'll show
he,
you.
he went out in the middle of the night to do this. Just sneaks, probably lost sleep over it. and some
Fuck.
thoughts, and went out and put a piece of paper on the door and then left.
Yeah, well, that's life of a radio station DJ in a small town.
That's
And
right. That's right.
and that's why I get why you're not outwardly political in any way, and I appreciate that about you because of your role in the community. And you just raised 50 grand worth of turkeys. To me, that
That's right.
is a sign of who you are. It's a sign of your politics. Nonetheless, when John Clarke comes on tonight, because people have been saying to me like, Joey, you don't bring politics into the weather. They've been saying that on my channel, and I say, well, I hear you. Okay, I hear you, everybody, and no, do what I want. So John's going to come on, John Clarke, and how I know John is back in the day during the Mike Harris government. He started an organization actually slightly before that called Ontario Coalition Against Poverty, and these guys fought. They fought against the Mike Harris regime in Ontario. John has unique experiences working with homeless people through this, including, the life and death matters. Like how Ronnie Grigg was on and had seen a lot of people come and go. And John in particular I'm sure he can name you many names of people who froze to death in Toronto and other cities like that. So he's uniquely placed to talk about climate emergencies, cold weather emergencies, things like that, right? And he wrote this great essay called Climate and Class, and it talks about how the paradigm that we're moving into affects disproportionately the poorest people, even in your own country, even in a rich country. The effects, and you see that during a hurricane. It's the poor communities that take it the hardest, right? So John has some unique perspectives, I think, on all these things, and I really can't wait to talk to him. I've been friends of his for over 20 years, well over, and certainly when I was a young man, people like John kind of blew my mind open because it's like you're saying the things that I felt, but I thought I wasn't allowed to think, that kind of stuff. So it's gonna be good. He should be with us pretty soon for his sound check here. Meanwhile, though, we are getting a little off topic, is I do want to get on with some weather information before that time. What's going on in British Columbia right now? So our snowstorm continues. Doesn't look too crazy out there, though I think if you're on Highway 16 right now, that's pretty nasty looking stuff up through there. Yeah, and just west of Prince George, if you're heading out to Vanderhoof, there's a solid looking band sitting right there right now out by Chief Lake. That's some solid looking bands. In the Caribou, just north of Quesnel, and it is snowing here in Wells. It's kind of all attached to it. It's like I could draw it out, it would look stupid. But it is snowing a little bit here. It's been just this fine mist snow, and not like the big powder we're used to getting, the big Pacific snow. You know what I mean, Brandon?
Oh,
The
yes.
big flakes we get. It's like this fine misting. And of course, that's because the air is so cold and the high pressure is so cold. It's just kind of butting up against that contact, and the air cannot hold its moisture, and it's proceeding to fall.
Oh, yes.
So that is the picture here right now. There's very little going on in North America otherwise. Special weather statement in Nova Scotia. There's a bunch of things in Canada going on, but otherwise, no, not much going on in the USA right now. However,
yeah, I guess it was raining on the Macy's parade today in New York City, so they got to deal with that on the parade there in the cold rains. And then looks like we've got some extreme, the winter storm conditions on the Prince Rupert area. And then up by Stewart, they're going to see possibly 30 to 50 centimeters of snow. That's going to be quite a bit of snow there. And then the extreme cold in the Northwest Territories and right on the prairies. That's going to be another big story as well.
That's a good summary. Yeah, our next snowstorm's already showing up with a winter storm watch for Terrace, Kitimat, Prince Rupert. I'm going to need to get water.
Okay.
I'm very dry in the mouth.
Very dry in the mouth.
This will bring warmer temperatures into British Columbia, though. This is great news, and this is the thing I've been talking about. Hey, Karen. Hey, Hilding. Welcome once again, my friends.
Yeah.
Thing I've been talking about in my forecast videos for the last, 7 to 10 days is, what's that interaction going to be like between this cold air mass coming down and the Pacific? And At first, models didn't really have anything from the Pacific coming at us, so then it really seemed like, well, maybe that cold air was going to win and push into BC. But no, it. We watched, and last week on the show, we were looking at models. And we're like, look at the refresh. Wow, it's heading right towards Saskatchewan, and it's more or less stayed that way in modeling ever since. So yeah, there's that winter storm watch. Of course, we still have this snowfall warning going on right now in the interior. You know about this already. Has eased. It should re-intensify this evening. It's saying 25 centimeters anticipated tonight on the north coast, including Stewart. 25 centimeters, man. That's
Oh yeah.
tonight. That's good.
Yes, and
Uh,
that's snowfall warning for the Grand Prairie area, extending all the way down towards Edson. Areas just north of Hinton there. That's going to be 25 to 30 centimeters and maybe even 50 centimeters in a few locations. That's the same system that's impacting BC, spilling over the Rockies and can bring up
yeah,
some
and that's
severe
interesting.
snow.
The cold is here, and
Hmm.
even people in McBride have been telling me that they've had sunny skies today and we're not seeing snow.
Oh yeah.
So it
Did
really that high pressure line. So I'm been skeptical on all this kind of talk on snow for a bunch of days for this area because it's like, well, what's going to happen? Is it going to push into the cold? Is it going to actually be minus 20 and snowing? Well, that can happen,
yeah,
right? But there's
right.
an interaction that's going to go on here that's really hard for computer simulations to really nail. It's those
Hmm.
kinds of things that you notice over years of forecasting
Oh yeah.
that a setup like that, it's anyone's guess, right? But up to 50 centimeters, that's crazy. Was that going to warm things up if it does, or I don't know? That's
Yeah, we're
you know,
going to
there's
be fighting with some cold air and warmer air, so it's going to be challenging to forecast, that's for sure. But yeah, that cold air really spilling into Saskatchewan. Yeah, that area, including Saskatoon, are extreme cold mornings, and going to see those wind chills. Going to feel like 40 below.
well, and likewise, it's only 4.3 below now as we're coming towards the 7 o'clock hour, and that's very warm for this last week here in Wells.
Oh
It's
yeah,
nice. Yeah, so we felt the warm up, but we're still, it's like we're on the edge of that high pressure enough that we're just getting this mist snow all day long.
yeah.
It hasn't puked like it likes to do in the mountains. It's just been
Oh
this
yeah.
nonstop misty kind of snow. What's going on all over here, man?
Oh yeah, the lake effect machine is going to be cranked right up over
Look
the
at
Great
that.
Lakes. I'd say some areas could see 80 centimeters of snow this weekend.
What?
Yes.
I've been sleeping on this one. I kind of like draw the line a little bit in my forecast. Like, oh, I'll mention some of this stuff, but it's like, well, I got to pick a place. And I kind of
Yeah.
figure like Lake Superior is sort of the place. I don't look at it as the border so much. I've kind of figured like, geographically west of Lake Superior and on, and then I kind of dial it down to my region, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you doing this week, Hilding? How you doing this week, Karen?
Oh, we're having interesting. It was -4 right up until yesterday, and now this morning it was 0, and now it's +4 again.
Yeah.
So, and today it was sunny all day.
And that's that same interaction though I was talking about because I noticed that yesterday that when it was still very cold here, you were at like 1 or -1 at Utsa Lake on the weather station there. And I thought, wow, it's really warm there. I was pointing that out in my video. Look, it's -14 currently in Fort St. John, -10 in Mackenzie, and it's go over to Utsa. So I was like, and again, talking about the interaction, that play between the cold, deep cold air. Oh boy, there's dogs barking and 40 centimeters by Sunday. That's near mom, but it's not quite there. Not quite there. But we'll see how that moves into the Bancroft, North of Madoc region. We'll be talking to John Clarke, who's down in Toronto tonight. He'll be on soon for his sound check. And then,
And
Today here, it was -3 this morning when I went to work. Today coming home, it was fluctuated between 0 and -1. So, and snow all day, but nothing accumulated. Nothing.
hmm. Oh
up
yeah.
in the heart, it's been dumping.
Dumping up there by downtown Prince George and here where I am in west of town, nothing. Don't even have to shovel tonight.
Here comes Clarke showing up.
Yeah, gonna get quite the snowstorm in New Brunswick tonight. Gonna see 15 to 20 centimeters of snow, and then parts of PEI probably get 10 centimeters in the higher terrain. So that'll be. Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna grab my water quick.
Okay. So yeah, looking at that upper air pattern. Gonna see cold Arctic air for the weekend, and then as we go into next week, looks like we'll probably start warming up in Alberta eventually next week. Still sitting at minus 14 right now. Yeah, we've kind of stuck at minus 11 all day long today, and with a cloudy, cool, misty kind of sky today. A couple of flurries here and there, but yeah.
Some nice looking ridging coming next week, man. There's gonna be some
Oh, yeah.
warm weather coming to the west side. John Clarke is joining us now. How you doing there, John?
Hey, not so bad, not so bad.
Good. And I'll get you to turn your camera landscape if you can for TV view. Excellent. The TV people love that.
Well, fair enough.
About that. So this is John Clarke from he's down there in Ontario, in Toronto area, and he used to be involved, was the lead organizer, the founder of Ontario Coalition Against Poverty, as I was telling everybody. And he's recently wrote an article called Climate and Class Struggle that I think is very interesting, very important stuff, right? So welcome to the show, John. I'm glad you can join us.
Very glad to come on.
How's the weather in Toronto?
I'm sure better than many places in Canada, but it's getting noticeably cool.
Going down to minus 40 wind chills in Saskatchewan.
Well, I take my hat off to those people.
That's going to be harsh. Yeah, I'm so glad that this delivery system is just knocked it far enough over the mountains that we got to minus 16 and I was like, oh, don't go any deeper. Now that Pacific weather machine and it's going to warm up next week to above seasonal. You got to love that Southwest Pacific flow when it comes. Even in the mountains, it'll be like minus 2 and snowing like crazy. It's great. It's great. So I'll introduce you to everybody here who's currently on. So what happens, John, is we have like this group chat with a whole bunch of people who've been on the show over the years. And I never exactly know who's going to show up. However, we almost always have this guy here, Brandon Hauk. He's a radio station DJ out in Brooks, Alberta.
Right.
And a weather expert. And he's the voice of weather often in Alberta on the radio airwaves on many, many, many stations. How many stations, Brandon? Like 1,000?
I guess, yeah. Could say that. 1,000.
Must be. All owned by the same company too, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I guess for you that works because it gets you out to all those stations. And then we have Hilding Donaldson. This is my old friend here, and he is up in Grassy Plains, BC. He's the cowboy Hilding, and Hilding and I know each other from music festival circuit from when my band was touring many, many years ago. And as a BC Northerner, and him and I have outside of festival time done things like last time Hilding was here, we went and watched Northern Lights out at Bowron Lake. It was a really fun night. So Hilding, songwriter, and then and cowboy farmer, and then also we got Karen Richards here, who's one of the moderators of our group, Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers, that we have, and that's 40,000 people in the BC interior. And our group is really BC interior focused because, back in the day, I was like, well, you sitting here in the BC interior, and then you turn on the Weather Network, and it's like, well, let's go for a Canada checkup. Well, Victoria this, and Vancouver that, and maybe Kelowna if we have time, on to Calgary, and on to Edmonton, and then Regina, and now we're in Winnipeg. And it's like, well, all these rural places, and especially here in BC where there's so much. And so people would tell me back then, like, you'll never figure the weather out. And I said, what do you mean? I'm trained. I understand what the weather's doing. Do you think, they're like, well, the weather in Wells just does whatever it wants. You wait 5 minutes, it will change, kind of bullshit, right? And that's true. Drive 5 kilometers, and if you don't like the weather, but I said, but it doesn't. The weather here operates on principles that are mechanisms of nature. It's not just magic just does whatever it wants and the impossible can happen. There's reasons why things happen when they do and how they do. Well, you'll never figure that out. Well, I proved them wrong. So I started Weather Watchers over 10 years ago, and it's grown really big. Oh, wicked. Joe Stover's coming in. We haven't seen Joe in a while, checking in from Churchill. So I started that over 10 years ago now, and we had some amazing successes, like warning people ahead of time of wildfire outbreaks. Where, like, for example, in 2017 and 2018, I didn't just call the day, I called the hour, like a week ahead of time. I was like, the thunderstorms are going to roll in at this time of day, and I don't see any reason for rain unless something changes in the models. We're going to have a widespread. And then the next day, it was like thousands of shares, and the group started growing rapidly, right? Eventually started the YouTube channel, and then we got onto radio and TV and all that.
It's impressive.
I got busy.
I find that when I want to travel around BC in the wintertime, the best way to know what the weather is coming ahead of you is to look on Weather Watchers, because there's so many people on there that give their local weather reports.
Yeah, we always know the
Absolutely,
scoop.
Hilding. Absolutely.
What's that?
Joey has saved me many, many times on my travels.
Okay.
Well, what'll happen too is someone will post an image in the group and be like, "Wow, it's minus 32 on my thermometer," or a foot of snow fell last night, or something, right? Or it's this is going on right now, a crazy thunderstorm. I'm like, "Whoa!" Check the radar. I'm like, "I'm on it." Right. So even the group itself helps me. And then so you have all these other meteorologists now. Like I know Johanna Wagstaff, for example, has watched the group for years, and I've been on her show, and she's been on mine in the past. And different meteorologists from all over the place. And then of course everybody who I've worked with in BC Wildfire, and they all come to the group, and it's this great collection place of in a socialistic spirit, really, of sharing information for the betterment of everybody else around us, right? So I think, in a sense, some of the things you're talking about in climate and class struggle, about community organized solutions, that would be a small example.
Yeah, indeed.
And the thing is, when you're forecasting, you never know how many lives you saved because there's no story.
Yeah.
People they heeded your advice. Oh, look at that, eh? Oh, Yukon, taking her hard. Look at that. There's our warm-up, Brandon. There it is.
Oh,
There's
yes.
your snooker. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And oh, no, Ontario. Sorry, John. If this happens on December 10th, you're going to have a cold weather problem.
Well, I'm sure what we're going to face here is going to be pretty mild compared to what a lot of people are facing in other parts of the country. So, not the end of the world.
It doesn't look like it to me. That looks pretty cold. That's 20s and lower. Yeah, that's bad. But look, it doesn't last very long. There you go. That's nice. That's nice. How long do we got till we got Frankie on here? 4 minutes. So Frankie shows up on the dot. It's part of. I don't know how to describe Frankie. It's part of his way. Frankie's this is the way he is. So he's Frankie, the show's at 7. He's like, okay, it's 6:59:55. Frankie shows up, right? And then
we need more Frankies, believe me.
And then when 8 o'clock my time hits, most of the time, without even saying bye, he's just gone. So he's fuck, I love him so much. He's the best. I think we got Mike McGregor coming on, speaking of wacky characters. Oh, Mike, I have learned to love this kid. Yeah. Oh, boy. That's nice. See how all that cold air was somewhere else? That was awesome. So that's kind of for all you viewers out there. I see that there's people watching on the live stream. And so for all you viewers, here comes Mike from Weather Center in Manitoba.
Nice shot of me.
Yeah, lots of people, some people watching. Good. Tell a friend. And when Frankie comes on, then we hit record and we start.
Hey guys. How's
Hey,
things
Mike.
going?
How's it going, bud? And so what we'll do, because it's a special guest episode, is we'll have the introduction. Did we lose John there? Or no, we got just more people. And we got Joe Stover here now, too. Holy shit.
Howdy, howdy.
That's awesome. 2 Manitoba reps.
Nice to be back, that's for sure.
How cold is it up there right now?
Oh, it's not bad. It's a bit blowy out there, but
Yeah, I see those tight isobars.
Yeah, minus 10. We got about 2 miles of visibility and light snow showers, but that's okay. It's getting cold enough now that the Hudson Bay is finally freezing enough that the polar bears are leaving us alone and heading out there to hunt seal. So about
They're
2
starting
weeks.
to fuck off, are they?
Yeah. So about 2 weeks later than normal, but that's okay. They had a fine winter last year, so all is well.
Yeah, Winnipeg, it's we just got snow on the ground like 4 nights ago. I'm actually gonna go and take a quick video of it because it's blowing a little bit out there and it's minus 12 right now. So I might head off for a few minutes and come back on. I'll send the video so you can add it to the Rogers TV broadcast on, I guess, Tuesday next week.
ECMWF does not agree with GFS. Maybe you're right, John. Maybe you will not have it as bad. Here comes Frankie. Awesome. So what we'll do is top of the show, we'll go for introduction chat with you first, John. Talk about just your history and whatnot, introduce you. Then we'll run Frankie, and we'll have our Frankie segment. And then we'll sort of jump back and forth kind of like that. Generally, we go Frankie and Brandon together and get them out of the way. They're like the highlight. And hey, Frankie.
Doing great so far. I sent you lots of weather reports in the last
I know.
minute, like Owen Sound, Saskatoon, and Australia.
I know. I got a lot of Frankie videos this week to put up, don't I?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a minute. I'm ready to record if you're ready, Frankie.
I'm ready.
This is my friend John Clarke is here, Frankie.
Hi, John. I'm doing great so far. I'm the guy that does a lot of weather reports on YouTube.
Frankie.
And Joe Stover has returned.
Joe Stover has returned, Frankie. It's great to see him. Polar bear season's over, so Joe's
And
back.
Trey Campbell's in Las Vegas.
Is he? Is he funny?
Yes, he's in Las Vegas. He told me that a long time ago.
Yeah, you're saying he's going to Las Vegas. It's good that his comedy's taken off, man. Trey's he's a funny guy. Okay,
And
it's
Base
7
Guy
p.m.
shows returning really soon. They got rid of the old electric panels and Base Guy hosts from the 1950s, and Base Guy's show will be back in the air soon.
Soon. It's been a long time since Base Guy got hit by Debbie. Okay, recording to the cloud. Let's go.
Let's record.
Hello, Prince George listeners at C4 88.7 FM. Hello, CKUW 95.9 in Winnipeg. Hello, CFBX 92.5 Kamloops. This is Joey Only. This is the Comedeorological Report. Hello, viewers on Rogers Television. That's so long ago. Boy, man, I'm not good at this anymore, am I? Thank you to everybody at Rogers, because I got us. They're showing us across northern BC now. I don't know the time on that, but if you are watching on your cable television in northern BC now, you can find the Comedeorological Report. Comedy plus meteorology equals Comedeorology. It's your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada. It's a special episode tonight. We got a special guest. I love special guest episodes. We got John Clarke here. He's an old friend of mine. He's reputable anti-poverty organizer from Ontario, from Toronto, who helped form Ontario Coalition Against Poverty back in the day. He's got some neat perspectives on cold weather and homelessness, and also a new essay he wrote called Climate in Class. That's really great. So we'll talk to John first in a minute, but we'll go through everybody here quickly. Of course, we got Frankie McDonald. He'll be on right after John. Frankie McDonald, the world's most famous, awesome weatherman. And we got returning, as per usual, Brandon Houck's back from the Santa Claus Parade. He just raised $50,000 worth of turkeys today. Good job, Brandon. We're very proud of you for helping your people in Brooks, Alberta. Joe Stover up there in Churchill, Manitoba. The polar bear season is over, and Joe Stover is back with us finally. He's not out guiding people to see polar bears anymore.
And this Wednesday coming up, I'll be on Kins and Clump podcast on December 4th.
Yes, and I'll be there. I'll be there. We also got Hilding Donaldson, the cowboy in Grassy Plains, and Karen Richards up in Prince George from Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers, and Mike McGregor, I believe, is still with us from Weather Center in Manitoba. That's everybody. John Clarke, welcome to the show. So tell us a little bit about your history, how you got organizing in anti-poverty in Toronto in the mid-1990s.
Well, when I first came to Canada from the UK, I moved to I moved to London, Ontario. It wasn't a very imaginative move, and I got involved there because I found myself out of work. I got involved with trying to form a union of the unemployed, and so for a number of years I was in London working on that stuff, and then a major march took place, and we all worked together, people from different cities, and the Ontario Coalition Against Poverty was founded. So I moved to Toronto in 1990 to become an organizer with OCAP. So for 28 years, I was an organizer with OCAP, and we engaged in a range of different struggles around poverty, homelessness, social exclusion, and we organized, I think, fairly aggressively, and we fought back, and we challenged those in power, we challenged those responsible. And I'm still today active in the struggles of Toronto's downtown east, fighting for housing and such like. So I've been an anti-poverty organizer for a lot of years now.
And why I think this is really relevant is because we got minus 30 temperatures coming down into Saskatchewan this week. And John, I know you know some of these names of people you still remember. Like, I know some of them stick with me. I didn't even know guys like Don Gordon and Jean Dapernay, but I remember they froze to death on Christmas Day. And I thought, wow, that's shocking. I'd like to hear some of your insights on cold weather, poverty, homelessness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, the weather in Toronto is not cold compared to many parts of Canada, but if you're out there on the streets, it's plenty cold enough to die. So we see in Toronto just a profusion of an explosion of the homeless situation that has taken place over the years. It just continues to get worse and worse and worse. And so now you've got a situation where there simply is not enough shelter space. There are not enough options. In 1990, OCAP organised a tent encampment in one of the Toronto parks, and it was regarded as a shocking act of defiance to do. Today, people are putting up tents in parks and on street corners as a matter of course, because there's no other way to survive. So the level of the crisis is completely out of hand, and so you see this explosion of homelessness. And homelessness is lethal all year round, of course, but in the cold weather, it's absolutely deadly in certain very definite ways. So you've got people being abandoned. You've got crackdowns taking place on homeless encampments where people have any possibility of huddling together and staying warm, and you have people being just dispersed and abandoned. In Alberta, I know that's emerged as a major issue. The crackdown on encampments has led to an increase in the number of people facing amputations because of frostbite. So that really is what is going on. The homelessness crisis has been bad for years, but it's utterly spinning out of control at this point in Canada and in a number of other countries.
Well, there was a time period in Toronto where a definite change happened, and it was from direct policies.
No,
such as removing rental controls.
Yeah, I mean, Ontario's experience of the Mike Harris government in the 1990s was similar to what people in Britain faced under Margaret Thatcher or Ronald Reagan in the United States. So you had this acceleration of these policies, cuts to social assistance. You had the elimination of effective rent controls. You had all kinds of measures taken that just exacerbated the problem incredibly. When the Harris government came to power and they cut social assistance rates by 21.6%, there was the following year a 67% increase in the number of people accessing homeless shelters in Toronto. So in BC, the organisation that that was active on the poverty front for so many years was called End Legislated Poverty. And that's a very apt term, because that's exactly what has happened. Poverty has been intensified because it's been legislated into existence, and it's now. I mean, during the years when I was an OCAP organizer, I continued to marvel at how bad things were and how they continued to get worse. But in the last several years, as I said, it has completely spun out of control. And if the homeless crisis, of course, is only the sharpest expression of a broader poverty crisis, because for every person who's freezing on the streets, there's dozens more people who are struggling to hand over their grocery money to the landlord to avoid being evicted. So yes, it's a dire crisis.
Yeah, during the Harris era, 2,000 evictions a month, I believe, was the number in Toronto. That intensified. It came up to that rate, 2,000 people every month, and they're not space for them to go. We're going to talk more to John through the episode, but we have to get on to Frankie McDonald, of course, in worldwide weather, because everyone is dying to know, Frankie, what's going on in the world. How you doing so far, buddy? Where's the worst weather in the
world? They got a big snowstorm heading towards New Brunswick and parts of Prince Edward Island. It's going to bring a lot of snow squalls in Owen Sound, Ontario, and Collingwood, Ontario, and all those places. It's going to bring so much snow squalls this Friday coming up. It's going to bring really cold air, and Great Lakes are very warm. That's going to bring so much snow squalls in Owen Sound, and Collingwood, and Highway 26. It's going to bring a whole lot of snow squalls in Owen Sound, Ontario, and surrounding areas. It's going to bring cold air all the way down to southern states. And California's getting Santa Ana winds. It's going to bring a lot of warm temperatures and Santa Ana winds this weekend coming. Going to bring so much Santa Ana winds in Los Angeles and Southern California, San Diego, and all those places. It's going to trigger a lot of forest fires in California. It's been snowing up in the mountains of BC. And in Vancouver, British Columbia, is drier than normal. And Southern Interior is a little bit of snow in the forecast. And lots of snow up in the Northern Interior, BC as well. Like Prince George and surrounding areas as well. As of right now, it's going to bring, it's brutal cold in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, North Battleford, Saskatchewan, Yorkton, Saskatchewan, and the other place called Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. It's really cold up in Greenland right now. It's really cold up in Nunavut territory right now as well. In Alaska, USA. It's warm out in Texas and all those places. And it's really dry in Colorado, Utah, Idaho. With really cold temperatures in Montana and Wyoming. It's milder up in Nevada right now. And Santa Ana winds are going on in Nevada as well. In Arizona, where Gary and Dino is at. Then they got really strong Santa Ana winds in Arizona, where Gary and Dino is at.
I like those guys.
And guess what? It's really, and then down in Central America, weather down Central America is lots of dry weather. Guatemala's in the dry season right now, and Costa Rica and El Salvador during the dry season. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Panama right now. Honduras is entering the dry season. Lots of rain and thunderstorms in Panama right now. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in southern Brazil, like Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Venezuela's rainy season still be thunderstorms and rain and forecast. A lot of rain and thunderstorms in Colombia, parts of Ecuador, parts of Bolivia, parts of Peru. It's really dry in northern Chile right now. In southern Chile, it's raining in the coast areas and snow up in the mountains in southern Chile. Lots of rain coming off the coast of Argentina. And very windy conditions in down southern Argentina. And it got some cold temperatures. Monday coming up in Falkland Islands and Lucia, Argentina, and the surrounding areas as well. Up around Europe, it's really cold in Iceland right now. Then it got a snowstorm heading towards Iceland Friday night and Saturday as well. Lots of warm temperatures in England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and Northern Ireland with windy conditions right now. So is France, Spain, Portugal as well. In Germany, Denmark, Netherlands, it's warmer than normal temperatures going up this Saturday, Sunday coming up in Norway, Finland, and Sweden as well. Then the cold temperature fights back next week. Then it got some dry weather in Poland as well, and warm temperatures. And then it starts getting colder in Belarus and Russia and Ukraine. Then it got lots of rain heading towards Greece this Saturday, Sunday coming up. Greece, Albania. After rain hitting Bosnia, Croatia, and all those places. And it's going to be heavy rain in southern Italy this weekend coming. Then it got some cold temperatures in parts of Turkey. Lots of dry weather in Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Morocco. As of right now. And then lots of dry weather in Mali and Timbuktu and parts of parts of Sudan, Ethiopia, and those places.
Timbuktu.
That's in Africa.
What else, Frankie? What
Yeah.
about Japan? Oh my God,
Lots
what's going
of
on there?
Lots of cold temperatures and rain going on in Japan right now.
What about in Russia and Ukraine, where there's, I'm sure there's probably a lot of homeless people out there right now.
Really bad here right now. And it's in Ukraine, though, right now. In Japan, lots of snow in northern Japan. And they got cold front going through Japan. Lots of cold temperatures in South Korea, North Korea, and Vladivostok, Russia, and Magadan, Russia is extremely cold. It's extremely cold in Siberia, like Norilsk, Russia, Yakutsk, Russia, Oymyakon, Russia. It's extremely cold right down in Irkutsk and Krasnoyarsk and all those places in northern remote communities in Russia right now. It's warm out in Wuhan, China. And it's in the dry season right now, but a little bit of showers in the forecast next week, including Wuhan, China, Shanghai, China, Hong Kong, and all those places. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in the Philippines right now, in Indonesia right now. Thailand is in the Bangkok, Thailand. Vietnam, Laos, they're in the dry season, including parts of Bangladesh and Myanmar. They're entering the dry season right now. Indonesia's in the rainy season. In India, and Sri Lanka's in there's lots of rain thunderstorms in Sri Lanka right now. In southeastern India. And the rest of India is really dry right now because they're in a dry season. In New Delhi, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and all those places. And weather all across. South Africa. It's got hot. It's going to get really hot in South Africa. As of right now, they got a whole lot of rain going on in Mozambique and north of Mozambique and southern Congo, Angola, and all those places. A lot of rain, thunderstorms in Madagascar, La Réunion, and Mauritius Islands during the rainy season right now. There's so much rain going on in Tanzania and north of Mozambique, Kenya, and all those places. Lots of rain, thunderstorms going on right now. In Australia, a lot of rain and thunderstorms going on in Sydney, Australia, Melbourne, Australia. Thunderstorms and rain in the forecast in Sydney, Australia. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Sydney, Australia, and Queensland, Australia, New South Wales, Australia, and Melbourne, Australia, and Canberra, Australia, Brisbane, Australia. They're bringing a lot of rain and thunderstorms there right now and hail possible in the forecast. Then you got some dry weather, Perth, Australia, right now. And down in New Zealand, and weather down in New Zealand is lots of warm weather in New Zealand right now. They got some parts of South Island going to get rain next week. And parts of Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and all those places, they're getting a lot of rain right now. In Fiji Islands, French Polynesia, and all those places. Antarctica is having a 24-hour daylight right now. Up in the Arctic, up above the Arctic Circle, is 24-hour darkness as for right now.
Excellent weather report, Frankie. Check this out. We got a little weather report here from meteorological correspondent Kelly Green.
Yes.
Hello, Joey Only and the Comedeorological Report audience out there. It is officially winter. Chilly, but the sky looks nice. And
it's really cold. It's supposed to get way colder than this, like minus 25.
Holy. Any plans for the weekend in minus 25?
I'm gonna go sledding with my friends for his birthday in the freezing cold.
You heard it here first. Sledding in minus 25 sounds like fun. Okay, that's it. Birds are chirping, the sun's out, but it's going to be dark. Would you believe it's like not even 4 o'clock? Of course you would. You live in Canada. All right, cheers, everybody.
Kelly, to remind us why Edmonton is so loved and why people just love living there. Just love it. We'll come back to Frankie with Frankie Videos of the Week, but we got so many panelists and we got to keep moving on because we got our special guests of the of the week to talk to as well. But first, we're going to run over to Brandon Hauk. Brandon Hauk, you got some hate mail this morning on the radio
Oh.
station door, and
Yes.
and then after that, you went out and raised $50,000 worth of turkeys.
I know. It's just amazing how radio worked, isn't it? I'll talk about that in just a second. I'll go through, weather updates and tell you why I wasn't here last week because when you work in radio, they want you to be in a parade. And that's where I was last week, in a parade. And they pretty much had a parade for me. And then they had a bunch of fireworks as well, which is kind of cool. I think it was all for me. I don't know. But anyways, so that's why I was missing last week. And then, there we go. There's all the fireworks all for me. There we go. Like I was the only one watching them, but I don't know. The whole city was out watching that. So it was nice weather for that, actually. Not too bad. Not too cold. Well, I was in the station vehicle the whole time, so that's why it wasn't too bad. But anybody out walking around afloat, they could definitely felt the chill with temperatures right around -10 there last week for the parade. Now, after that parade, we had our first what we call radiothon there, and that was during a snowstorm that happened on Saturday in the Brooks area. We picked up about 18 centimeters of snow. Some areas in the province picked up to 30 centimeters of snow over the weekend, with first significant amount of snow for the season there. So that was the story on Saturday, and then we had our what we call Rotary Radio Day, where we raised a lot of money, over $2,000 on Saturday. So that was our first radiothon there. And then throughout this week, it's been quite cold. Temperatures pushing only daytime highs in the minus teens, and a couple overnight lows dropping to -24, -25 here and there. And we're kind of battling out that Pacific air mass with the Arctic air mass. And that's going to kind of persist as we get into the weekend here with, daytime highs in the minus teens, right around -15 for the next couple of days. And those overnight lows pushing well into the -20. So it's going to be, quite cold for the weekend, but there are some signs as we're also watching a significant amount of snow to fall in the Grand Prairie area, where especially higher terrain in areas near Grand Prairie up towards the elbow region is what we call it of Alberta will probably pick up potentially up to 50 centimeters of snow in higher elevations, but to 20 to 30 easily done through the weekend there. So significant snowfall in that part of the province. Meanwhile, for us in the south, we're going to get a couple of flurries here and there, and then we'll see those temperatures start to bump up next week as that Pacific air finally works its way over the Rocky Mountains into Alberta, and we'll see temperatures getting above the melting point there. All right, so
That's
I've been
the
holding
Chinook.
on.
That is
Yes.
Chinook winds.
Those are those textbook Chinook winds, and that is well welcomed, especially after a cool spell that we've had in up to 18 centimeters of snow that's on the ground. So I've been holding on to these couple of jokes for the last couple of weeks because I was going to do them last week, but then I was in a parade and I didn't make it. But anyways, by the way, you're most likely to catch a cold the first week of November. However, you're not likely to catch anything in November. The folks who are not likely to catch anything in November is going to be the New York Jets because, I guess the Jets have not been having a great November so far. There we go.
Oh,
Good old
Brandon.
New York Jets. Okay, and then where's my other one? Oh, yes, this one. All right, so you probably heard about this week. KFC has been testing out some, what they call wrapping paper, okay? So this wrapping paper, by the way, that the Kentucky Fried Chicken has been selling wrapping paper that tastes like chicken, okay? So next up, they're going to be selling that wrapping paper. Pretty much what they're going to be selling is chicken that tastes like chicken. Just saying. Yeah. Anyways, now I'll get into my... That was bad. Okay.
Oh,
Womp womp.
All right.
Oh boy.
So,
Spit it out, Brandon. Time's tough. Tight.
all
Time's
right,
tight.
here we are. So I get to the radio station this morning. All right. And actually, today's a big day. So I get down to the radio station, and I'm the first one at the radio station. That's a good thing because if anybody else saw this letter in the door, oh boy.
Well, there was a highway accident yesterday.
Yeah,
and
there's-
you had
so I'll tell you what
put the
happened
card
yesterday.
in. You
Yep.
put the card in, and it was playing the highway accident report. But then someone didn't take the card out, and it played all night.
Yeah, that was my bad. So I put the It wasn't a serious accident, so that's the good news there. But yeah, it was a little bit of
It
an
was a
accident.
funny
We had
one. It was a funny accident.
yeah. So it was somebody kind of little rear end there, had some debris on the road, and it was going to take a couple hours. So I put the cart in, emergency cart. We have these things that we call emergency carts, and we plot them in. We go right over Microsoft Teams and wide orbit, and you can do it right from here. So I was like, okay, put it on. All right. And I'm pretty much pumped for today because today's a big day. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And then I realized this morning, oh, I forgot to take the card out, and it's still playing. Uh-oh. I get to the station. Well, I hope nobody noticed that. Well, apparently somebody did. And there's a letter stuck right on the window of the radio station. So I ripped the letter down, and I'll read it. Here we go. All right. It says.
Try to use a voice similar to the unhinged manner in which it was written.
So, by the way, this person who wrote this letter, whoever it is, they've been writing letters like this since 2019. They have not liked anything about the radio station or anything or whatever happens. Probably my favorite one was the one on the Shaggy song that played at 1:36 in the morning, and it's like, you got to think about the children, because it's not a song for the children, but it's 1:36 in the morning, so I don't think there's any kids up listening to the station at that time of the night. But anyways, so this guy, yeah, he strikes again, and he sneaks out in the middle of the night, and then he puts like letters on the station's windows and such, just to, a bunch of mail, little bit of mail, the old-fashioned way. He's I don't even think he's on social media or anything like that. So, anyways, so he wrote today. All right, you people are so stupid. That's what he wrote. That's his first line on this letter. Your report at 1:36. Accident has happened. All right. And then you tell us all evening long. Stay tuned for further updates. There wasn't any further updates. That was about it. So I was just waiting. So that's probably another thing that happened there. Why I didn't update it, because there weren't any updates. So where are the updates? He put question mark. Were there any injuries? Question marks. There are no updates. 7 hours later. So what's the point? Saying anything, hey? At all? Question mark.
Well,
Where
he's got
are
you
the
there.
updates at 8:30? And then puts question mark there. And then he moves on to something else that he didn't like about the station that week. And oh yes, yeah. Then before he writes about something else, your station is such a joke! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! And he highlights no, and he highlights 7 hours. Red marker on the paper here. All right, and black pen, red marker, written all over the place here. All right. Your station is such a joke. Highlights joke. Big highlight right through the word joke right there. All right. And then you call in Tuesday, Turntable Tuesday. And then highlights Turntable Tuesday in red marker there. Where's the turntable? He puts question mark right there. There isn't one! Exclamation mark. How many albums do you have? Question mark. 0. Puts red felt marker right through it. You only say it because it rhymes. And that's
It doesn't rhyme.
You ever met this guy before, Brandon?
No, I've never even seen the person before.
Well, not that you know of. For all
Maybe.
you know, he's spying on you. We do got to keep moving. We got a real full lineup. Brandon Houck, you are hilarious, and you raised $50,000 worth of turkeys after taking public humiliation once. So,
What about
you're a
the other
great
guy,
man.
Joe Stover?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Joe Stover is way better than this guy, that's for sure.
I'm going to do my best to try to fit everybody in. We got to talk to John here for a few minutes, but we did have Ronnie Griggs show up from, the star of Love in the Time of Comedeorology and Love in the Time of Fentanyl. Our buddy Ronnie Griggs down there in Vancouver. Imogen the Alien, who's our producer of the show for TV, has shown up as well. We got full cast. John Clarke, can you talk to us a little bit about your new essay? And it's not the first thing that you've written on the topic. You've been kind of on about this for a little while. Climate and class struggle.
Yeah, well, I mean, I for a lot of years I've been involved in the class struggle in one way or another. I mean, it strikes me that as this climate crisis is spinning out of control, and as we're seeing a worse and worse impacts coming down in the form of crazy weather, in the form of extreme weather, in the form of wildfires, and I mean all of the things that are manifesting the growth of the impact of climate change. But this isn't just some natural disaster. It's something that's really being caused by greed. It's being caused by profits. It's being caused by a very, very deliberate course. And in that situation, people who are fighting for their rights as workers, people who are fighting for their rights as people in communities who are facing austerity and cutbacks and all those things, are now seeing this new increase in the destabilization and hardship that's being caused by climate change. In Valencia, in Spain, recently, we saw the situation, of course, where you had these horrendous floods, and they were terrible, but they could have been prepared for. People could have been saved. The measures could have been taken that could have made a real difference. And you probably saw the footage of the King of Spain going down there to try to glad hand and people pelting him with mud. I mean, people were angry and justifiably angry. So I'm just trying to make the point that these impacts are going to change the things we need to fight for, and they're going to change the struggles that we take up. And just like the people in Valencia fighting for those basic protections, people all across the world are going to be fighting those kinds of battles. So the class struggle is being changed. So it's a cliche to say it, but the struggle for social justice and climate justice are completely interwoven. And that's the essential point I was trying to make with that particular piece of writing. It was actually a little booklet that I co-authored with Sarah Glynn, a woman from Scotland who's actually living in France at the moment. We got together and put together this little booklet on the subject.
Yeah, anyone on the panel got questions for John on the topic or thoughts? I'm going to read you, Mike.
Yeah. What do you see with this climate thing? Like, are these effects going to get worse? Like I don't know if are they making any changes to pollution policies to help prevent climate change, or is this going to be an ongoing thing where things get worse? Already past the 1.5 threshold, which is concerning enough.
Yeah,
they're making policy changes to increase climate change.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, clearly, emissions have not they haven't reached the cap on emissions yet. Carbon emissions are increasing, and as you say, in 2015 in Paris, they got together and reached this agreement that it would be a wonderful thing to reach it if we didn't reach the 1.5 Celsius global temperature increase. And this year is going to be the first year in which that has actually been breached. Now, there has to be a period of several years where it doesn't go below 1.5 before we can say it's really been breached. But we are on track, it's estimated, for an increase of 2.7 degree increase. And if that happens, if we look at the impacts that are happening already before the 1.5 has even really been breached, what would happen at that level is absolutely unimaginable. We're talking about whole areas of this planet where people simply can't live. We're talking about rising sea levels, and we're talking about extreme weather that's absolutely devastating. I mean, right now in the Philippines, since we're on the subject of the weather, in the Philippines, there have been 10 million people displaced by a series of typhoons that are at record levels. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that we're unfolding. So my point in putting together this essay is, in the face of that, if we just if we leave them to their own devices, they're just going to abandon people. They're just going to say, oh, well, too bad your community was destroyed. That's rough. Here's some tents. Get on with it. I mean, there has to be real measures put in place to protect people. And absolutely, we have to ensure that the transition takes place now. But when that transition takes place, it's going to have to be a just transition. We can't just abandon people. We can't say, you've been producing oil all these years. Sorry, you're out of work. Go away. You're on the scrap heap. There has to be a really just transition to people.
It says here in your essay, first of all, it's already abundantly clear that, like the spread of COVID, the impacts of climate change will play out along the fault lines of social, racial, and global inequality. Even in wealthy countries, the destruction and devastation caused by extreme weather, wildfires, rising sea levels, and other climate effects will threaten people and communities who have the fewest resources and the most limited options to a much greater degree. In the global south, in particular, it is horribly clear the results of climate change mean catastrophic suffering. As climate impacts intensifies, those who face the worst consequences and those who are abandoned in the face of them will have to struggle to survive. They will have to advance demands and develop strategies and forms of organization to confront those with economic and political power. The climate issue will be placed at the heart of the class struggle in country after country.
As I wanted to mention too, Manitoba had a record-breaking hailstorm year with a record number of hailstorms and the most damage apparently on record. And first time I've ever seen a windstorm with 162-kilometer wind gusts this summer in Western Manitoba. If this kind of thing is going to become more common during the summer months, there has to be better measures to protect people from these kinds of damages, but also our infrastructure needs fixing because it's at a point right now where, you know, we're not able to handle the floods disasters when they happen. And, you know, severe weather in prairies is getting worse. Our winters are, you know, shorter. Droughts are becoming more common. We're getting rainstorms that, like, for me, I haven't seen the amount of moisture that we saw this summer in my entire lifetime. So there's definitely something going on with the climate, even noticing it here in the prairies.
Well, the level of denial is what's most disturbing to me. Like, we just had a windstorm hit 174 on the BC coast. That's a very, very, I don't think I've ever seen that on an Environment Canada weather station on the BC coast. I've seen like 168 and things like that. You know, it was a very strong storm. And then people afterwards like, well, that's normal, who weren't where the bad weather happened, of course. But you have this like this denialism to not even like the larger picture, but what's happening today. You know, like it's maddening. Joe Stover up in Churchill, Manitoba. Hey, welcome back to the show, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be back. To that end, about a lot of these, you know, we talk about the developed countries that are experiencing consequences from climate change. In Baku, just the summit that just wrapped up. One of the things that I took away from that is that the more developed countries, or the more rich countries, I suppose, were squabbling over how much to give to the developing countries. Like that seemed to be like a real, instead of saying how much do you need to help us mitigate what's going on, it's just
how little can we give?
How little can we give? And just squabble. And it's you know, I'm always an optimist, but it's just, you know, how does one that still believes that something can be done, how can one be optimistic, at least to a high degree, when you are hearing you know, that these are the kind of things talked about at these climate change conferences.
Oh, don't worry, Joe. Your polar bears are just going to mate with grizzlies.
Yeah, so I'm told.
And while we have you, Joe, it's been a few weeks. Our ice just formed in the lake this week here in Wells, and we're usually on par with you there. How's your Hudson Bay ice?
Hudson Bay ice is finally kind of starting to it's starting to hold up enough now that polar bears can start heading out there, which is really, really good. Normally we start to see the polar bears leave the land about between the second and the third week of November. Now they would rather be on frozen sea ice always. The only reason that they're on land is because there's no sea ice. So their normal fast, at least whatever normal is these days, you usually start to see the ice in the Hudson Bay break up middle of June and into maybe the first week of July. We start seeing bears around the middle of June. Well, this year was an anomaly in that we had a real stubborn piece of ice in the southwestern Hudson Bay that hung on until about August 31st, which is just unreal. I mean, the year before, by the middle of June, the entire Hudson Bay was ice free. So we're thankful that the polar bears were able to stay out there and feed on seal about 2 months longer than they were last year. But we have been sort of experiencing some more interesting phenomenon here in terms of when they talk about climate change here, at least in southwestern Hudson Bay, and I'm sure it's like that all over the north. It's you used to be able to set your clock to a gradual temperature rise and a gradual temperature decrease. Now it's, really, really warm days, really, really cold days, really, really warm days, really, really cold days. And it's on those really, really cold days that's when Johnny Craphead, sorry, I know you got to edit some of this stuff out. They're the ones that are saying, well, what about global warming? I thought you said there was global warming. And then it's, +2 in the middle of January. And then all of a sudden silence and crickets from them. Right. So
I liken it to when the Titanic's sinking and the guy's at the bow, or he's at the stern there and it's way up in the air. And he says, no, everything's fine. We're 400 feet up in the air, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But long story short, the Churchill River, of course, is just pumping ice as it is fresh water into the Hudson Bay. And we're starting to get these more seasonal temperatures of -10, -14, -15, and then lows of -18, -19. And that plus no wind, that Hudson Bay goes right over, and that's exactly what we want. We love polar bears, but we don't want to see them from November until June for sure.
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to turn on meteorologist Mark Engels has sent us a little video clip here. And while we're watching Mark's video clip, I want everyone to think of some more questions for John Clarke here on his essay. But Mark, he's famous for saying that he's a great meteorologist. Well, we say that, but he's a bad storm chaser. And he's out in Ucluelet right now, and there's nothing really going on. But here he is.
Hello everyone, Mark Ingalls here in Ucluelet, BC. I'm going to skip the show tonight because we're having our annual Harry Potter marathon. But I think really this week in the West Coast, we're looking at a pretty inactive weather pattern. I think we'll have an atmospheric river aimed at, at the north coast of BC and southeast Alaska. So for the lower mainland and like the Okanagan and places like that, like some showers, we'll have the marine layer in along the coast and the lower mainland most days, but no big storms like we had, the other week. We may return to active weather here pretty soon, but it's not happening for at least the next couple of days, which is a real bummer because I was hoping to see big waves out there, but at least I can hear the sea lions in the distance. I don't know if my phone's picking it up, but it is nice to hear. So, Mark Ingalls reporting from Ucluelet, BC. Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah, Mark, he's so great. Any questions for John Clarke on the topic of climate in class? Ronnie Grigg?
Yeah, I'm back. My dog is freaking out upstairs, so I had to. I hope it doesn't during my unmuted time. But first, good to be here. John, good to meet you. I'm in Vancouver, BC, and I've been involved in this show because I've given reports on how weather impacts homeless populations and unhoused populations. And over the past, really since I've started the show, it's changed from warming centers to cooling centers and now just extreme weather centers. And so I had a busy day today, and I admit I didn't get to the end of your essay, but what I appreciated was you pointing out that conversations with big political conversations and big conference conversations aren't solutions, right? And what I would like to know is what solutions do you come up with, like for the every person, just us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks for the question because First of all, I utterly agree with you. The conference of parties deliberations that they're having in Baku was mentioned. Um, uh, I mean, they are top heavy with fossil fuel lobbyists and government leaders that don't intend to do anything. They talked in terms of giving a 300 billion a year payment to the global south, which is totally inadequate. But they're already committed to giving 100 billion. They haven't even given that. So I mean, it is, as you say, complete nonsense. But I mean, the point I think is that we have to, like many of the things I've seen over the years, if we're going to make a difference, we're going to have to fight for it. We're going to have to organize. We have to organize people. Workers in unions are going to have to fight back. Communities are going to have to organize. I mean, it's the very simple little gesture of people in Spain pelting the Spanish king with mud from the floods when he came there to offer his thoughts and prayers, I think was a really sort of a telling indication of the fact that we've got to start organizing. We've got to put demands forward. We've got to have to say, look, if there's extreme heat, people can't just be left in sweltering conditions, such as happened in BC just not that long ago. You had deaths because people's needs weren't met. They didn't respond. But if there's going to be those responses in place so that there's protections, so that there's a capacity to recover from the effects of these things, they're not just going to hand over the resources. We're going to have to fight for them. And at the same time, we're going to have to organize to actually ensure that this insane drive to keep sending carbon emissions into the atmosphere is actually controlled. But it's not going to come from the people that assemble in those talking shop conferences. It's going to come from working class people organizing together.
Well, we're in a big moment in history right now where the denial is so strong that we've seen Trump come to power. Like how much of an uphill battle are we fighting here?
It's also worth noting that two of the worst global offenders are China and India. They're also two of the biggest producers of consumer goods. So really, from the everyday, every person perspective, the first choice you can make is ethical purchasing decisions. So as long as you're going to keep buying cheap garbage at Walmart, you're only looking at yourself as a cause. You're supporting the manufacturers who are the worst polluters. If you want to see results and you want to be involved, your first step is ethical choices. Source it, look who manufactures what, and make those purchases. It's going to cost more, but are you going to pay for it, or are you going to buy cheap stuff and then blame the politicians who really don't have a lot to do with it? It's the Chinese government that allows the manufacturers and the factories to produce and emit what they do. It's the consumer who buys that stuff and supports those factories. So at the end of the day, the first step in a solution is purchasing decisions, reusable stuff, better made, locally made, not from a factory spewing garbage.
They get a top seat fault in South Bar, Norway. They get a global seat fault. They store millions and millions of seeds from around the world in there.
They do.
Yeah, in case, eh? And there is some truth to that for sure. There's some truth to that. There's a global drive, I think, to make this kind of a market economy.
They're building in 4 cities, like some of those places down South America. They're building cities and buildings covered with trees and plants. Like China is one. Colombia down South America, that's another.
Investors are making a killing because they're doing business in the third world, and that's the truth. And something I thought about often is like a simple way to reduce emissions would be if we made stuff that works and lasted. How often you buy something and within 2 months you're throwing it in the trash and getting the exact same thing again.
Well, it never used to be. It never used to be that way. There's toys that my grandmother bought for my parents, and my nieces and nephews are still playing with those toys.
No, you made it once and you made it right.
And what about
built to last?
It's very rare to find anything nowadays that lasts more than 6 months. I'm fortunate to have a pair of headphones that has lasted me a year, and I can probably bet within the next 6 months that'll probably break. These factories have to stop making products that only last like 1 month, and then we're buying something new because it's continuing to create pollution
Why do
We
they
should
do
From a
it?
corporate standpoint,
Yeah, I need
money,
to
money,
do
money.
local stuff. Like I rarely see anything made from Canada anymore. And when it is, it's either food or something cheap. Or you get this local store
Regarding
at a
the headphones, pay more, you'll get a better product.
And
If
did
you
you
buy
hear
cheap
about this? And they
headphones,
got Frankie
they're gonna
videos
wear
coming
out,
up.
they'll break.
We
That
do
comes down
got
to
Frankie
consumer
videos coming up.
decisions.
Yeah.
We do, Frankie. And just a couple minutes time, we got Frankie videos of the week. But yeah, those are all some very good points. But at the end of the day, it's like my little bit of power compared to Stelco or Inco or the big plant in Sudbury spewing out emissions. Like the people who are invested there, they got money, they got power, they got lawyers, and I'm just one guy who scrapes by in a wildfire and a YouTuber paycheck, right? So it's at some point you got to look up and be like, well, it's not my fault. I didn't want this. Look at my family history, 500 years of being poor farmers in Holland and being Irish and native drunk crazy people on my dad's side.
There are still a lot of things that more people can do. For example, learning cook for yourself. Learn to cook. Buy ingredients instead of prepackaged stuff. Buy ingredients that you can prepare, do meal planning, freeze it ahead of time. You're contributing to less packaging. You're contributing to less factory farmed food, which is also a major contributor. Learn to fix your clothing instead of throwing it out and buying new stuff every time. It goes
I guess
a long way.
the basic point we're all making is that convenience culture and market capitalism are tied together, and it's a big thing to break. We do have a little weather blurb from Mike here we want to put on quick here.
Hey, Weather Comedy Report. I'm broadcasting for Winnipeg, or the Weather Center in Manitoba. It's Mike. Just winter wonderland here. It's beautiful. And you can see all the snow we have here in our yard. Not nearly as much as what western parts of the province have. You can see my foot is barely even in ankle deep. But yeah, welcome to beautiful winter in Winterpeg.
Yeah, we got
Now for the Frankie videos.
Yes, Frankie. Let's get the Frankie.
I did want to mention that it is finally starting to feel like winter here. -12 today, and it's going to be cold the rest of the week. I'm loving it. Nothing much to talk about other than a clipper system coming on Tuesday. Going to probably give us about 5 or 10 centimeters of snow. I really hope that I can get some of the snow they're getting in western Manitoba because we're barely getting any. We barely have any on the ground right now, and I'm a bit disappointed. That's almost Christmas time. We barely have anything. So, as Brandon was mentioning, maybe some of those Chinooks will usher in a low pressure system at some point or another for us.
Well, it only stops snowing in Wells to get cold for a few nights. That's how it is here. I'm ready for Frankie video of the week. Are you ready for Frankie video of the week? We got a couple Frankie videos of the week.
Let's go, Frankie, Frankie's the man.
And these are all very accurate predictions you made, aren't they, Frankie?
Yes.
1 second, I'm going to get started up here.
This is
Okay, let's go.
This is Frankie McDowell, my own TV station, live from Sydney, Nova Scotia. Extreme cold weather's heading towards Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Friday, November 29, 2024. Temperature's going to be extremely cold in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and temperature's going to be so cold. And I urge everyone to don't even walk too far, wear extra warm clothes, have your plugs ready to keep the battery warm. Have your special plugs ready to plug the batteries in the vehicles to keep the battery warm. Because the temperature is going to be mighty cold. It's also going to affect North Battleford, Saskatchewan, Lloydsminster, Saskatchewan, Alberta. Temperature is going to be extra cold. I urge everyone to drink lots of green tea, white tea, red tea. Drink lots of green tea to keep you warm. Have your extra warm clothes ready. And have your winter boots, winter jackets, hats, and gloves, and scarves, and ski pants ready. Have your furnaces and heat pumps ready to keep the house warm. And have your extra blankets ready to keep you warm as well. Because the temperature is going to be extremely cold in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and the surrounding areas on Friday, November 29, 2024. It's going to affect Lloydsminster, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, and North Battleford, Saskatchewan, and Yellowhead Highway 16 and its surrounding areas as well. Temperatures going to be extremely cold in Saskatoon and surrounding areas as well. If everybody living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, be prepared for extreme cold weather on Friday, November 29, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get too cold, stay warm, be safe.
Oh, heavy
This
rain
is Frankie
coming to
McDowell, my own
Australia.
TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Heavy rain's headed towards Sydney, Australia on Friday, November 29, 2024. It's going to bring up to 30 plus millimeters of rain in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, and the surrounding areas. It's going to bring a lot of rain. Winds are going to be pretty strong. It's going to cost a whole lot of rain. The heavy rain's going to continue on to Saturday, November 30th, 2024. In Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, and surrounding areas. So it's going to bring a whole lot of rain and thunder and lightning in Sydney, Australia. That's New South Wales, Australia. It's going to bring a lot of rain. Winds are going to be really strong. And Friday and Saturday will not be a good day to head to the beach to go swimming in Sydney, Australia, and the surrounding areas. It's going to bring a lot of rain that could cause a lot of puddles in the streets. It'll be flooding possible in Sydney, Australia, and the surrounding areas as well. People in Sydney, Australia, be prepared. Have your rowboats ready for raincoats ready, have raincoats ready. When you go outside, you're ready rowboats, ready raincoats to keep you dry. Don't walk through the puddles. Avoid the puddles when you go for a walk. When you drive a car, don't drive a car through the puddles either. Don't drive a car through the flood either. Because it's going to bring a whole lot of rain starting on Friday evening in Sydney, Australia. In Sydney, in New South Wales, Australia, that's where Sydney is at. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, and the surrounding areas as well. If you have anybody living in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, be prepared for heavy rain on Friday, November 29, 2024. It will continue on to Saturday, November 30th, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in heavy rain. Stay dry and be safe.
Hopefully the sewers don't back up, Frankie.
Hey everybody, my dad, Frank McDonald, wrote a song on his SoundCloud, Green Sky on his SoundCloud, Mystic Mist. He played guitar all by himself. He played a guitar all by himself. He recorded his own song. And he wrote his own lyrics and mastered a song all by himself. He played the guitar all by himself. He recorded his own song. Green Sky, that's my dad, Frank McDonald's latest original song on his SoundCloud, Mystic Mist. My dad did a great job. You give it a listen if you want to for Frank Down. This is Frankie McDowell, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Oh, you're getting rained
Major
on.
snowstorms head towards Saskatoon, Saskatchewan on Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of snow. Winds are going to be really strong. It's going to cause blow and drift and snow, reduced visibility, especially on Yellowhead Highway 16 and Saskatchewan Provincial Highway 11. It's going to bring a lot of snow. Winds are going to be really strong. And streets, roads, highways at Yellowhead 16 will be snow covered in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It's also going to affect Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, North Battleford, Saskatchewan, and Lloydsminster, Saskatchewan. Albert is going to bring a lot of snow. Winds are going to be pretty strong in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and surrounding areas. Are going to bring windy conditions, blowing snow, drifting snow, reduced visibility, dangerous, treacherous driving conditions in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and the surrounding areas as well. It's going to bring a whole lot of snow in Saskatoon and the surrounding areas as well. Winds are going to be really strong. It's going to cause blowing snow, drifting snow. Roads will be really dangerous to drive as well. People in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, be prepared. Have your winter boots ready, with your jackets ready, hats, gloves, scarves, ski pants ready. Order pizzas and order Chinese food. Buy cases of Pepsi, buy cases of Coke. Do your grocery shopping, don't wait till last minute.
Do it right now.
Make sure your smartphones, cell phones, laptops, tablets, search. Have your 3G, 4G, 5G, and LTE ready as well. With a drive car, take a drive driving car. Slowly and so you don't get in a car accident. Until we go for a walk, be very careful walking to see don't slip and fall. Make sure if your furnace is a heat pump's ready. Turn on your furnace and heat pumps to keep those warm. Drink lots of green tea, white tea, red tea. Drink lots of green tea to keep warm. Have your extra blankets ready to keep warm as well. Make sure if your shovel, snow scoop, snowboard, snowplow, salt truck is ready as well. If you have anybody living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, be prepared for a major snowstorm on Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in a major snowstorm. Stay warm, be safe.
You nailed that one.
This is Frankie McDowell, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova
Last
Scotia.
one.
Major snowstorm is headed towards Regina, Saskatchewan, Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of snow. Winds are going to be really strong. It's going to cause blowing, drifting, so reduce visibility, dangerous, or treacherous driving conditions, especially on Trans-Canada Highway number 1 outside of Regina and Highway 6 Ring Road in Regina, Saskatchewan as well. It's going to bring a lot of snow, blowing snow, drifting snow, dangerous and treacherous driving conditions, reduced visibilities, widow conditions. It's also going to hit Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan and Swift Current, Saskatchewan. It's going to bring a whole lot of snow on Highway 1 west of Regina as well. It's going to bring a whole lot of snow. Winds are going to be really strong. It's going to cause blowing, drifting snow, reduced visibilities, dangerous and treacherous traffic conditions. It's going to bring heavy winds, blowing snow, including Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Swift Current, Saskatchewan, and the western Saskatchewan as well. People in Regina, Saskatchewan, be prepared. Have winter boots ready, winter jackets ready, hats, gloves, scarves, and ski painters ready. Order your pizzas and order Chinese food. Buy case of Pepsi, buy case of Coke. Doing grocery shopping, don't wait till last minute. Do it right now. Make sure you have your smartphone, cell phones, laptops, tablets charged. Have your 3G, 4G, 5G, and LTE mobile internet ready as well. When you drive a car, take your time, drive a car slowly down so you don't get in a car accident. So we go for a walk. Be very good for walking, see adults if you fall. Make sure every furnaces and heat pumps ready. Turn on your furnace and heat pumps to keep the house warm. Drink lots of green tea, white tea, red tea. Drink lots of green tea to keep you warm. Have your extra blankets ready to keep warm as well. Make sure your shovels, snow suits, snow blowers, snow plows, salt trucks ready as well. If you have anybody living in Regina, Saskatchewan, be prepared for a major snowstorm on Saturday, November the 23rd, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in heavy snow. Stay warm and be safe.
Tea, baby. Drink that tea.
Frankie's nailing it. We got 3 extra minutes tonight, so we got 5 minutes in total to go. Hilding, Cowboy, we haven't heard from you tonight. And I'm wondering, as a small-time farmer, do you have any thoughts on some of the things that John Clarke was talking about? Karen, we haven't heard from you either. You got 1 minute each if you got time.
Well, I just had to notice that the way that farming is being affected by climate change, we're not being as big of a producer of farm food for the world in Canada. So I'm thinking that a lot of people don't really realize the impact of that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I'm not going to come here and try and pretend I'm an expert on agriculture, but it's abundantly clear that the production, I mean, in a whole number of countries, it's been raised that crops, staple crops that could be easily produced in abundance and with regularity and without difficulty are now being constricted because of the effects of climate change. So it is going to mean a huge impact on agriculture. It's going to mean it all across the world, but there are parts of the world where agriculture is going to be destroyed. I mean, there are many countries where the extreme heat and the drought that is taking place is going to have a devastating impact. It's true in North America. It's absolutely true. But there are parts of the world where it's even more true. So yes, I think farming, agriculture, and the supply of food to populations is going to be massively affected. It's a huge question.
Yeah, you can find John's essay, climateandclass.net. Quickly, Mike.
Yeah, what do you think about southern Manitoba and our ability to create agriculture and have agriculture and crop growth? Do you think that is going to be affected with climate change as well, as other parts of the world?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's no reason at all why southern Manitoba is going to face any kind of a different situation. Agriculture and the stability of communities is going to be really harshly affected. When you spoke before, you spoke about some of the effects that are being seen already. I think that's really, that really illustrates what's unfolding. There's going to be a level of disruption in people's lives over the next few years, and it's going to just keep getting worse and worse and worse. The fact is that even if today we were able to step in and say, okay, everybody in the world is going to be a responsible person, all of the businesses in the world, all of the corporations are going to do all the things necessary. Even if we could produce an absolute end to the creation of more problems, the damage that's been done already is spinning out of control. I mean, the scientists talk in terms of tipping points. So you get things happen that unleash changes that something happens as a cause, like wildfires. they send carbon into the atmosphere. They're produced by climate change, but they're an effect of climate change that becomes a cause. So I think, it is indeed something that we're going to have to be dealing with. In decades to come, we're going to be dealing with the effects of this one way or another. But how much effect is going to be determined by what we do now.
The
Is any
methane
of it
sinks being a good one.
reversible?
We are running. We are completely out of time now. I think.
If you want to follow me on,
Okay.
social media, my blue sky's at Frankie MacD. My ex formerly Twitter's at Frankie MacD. My Linktree is Frankie MacDonald. My Facebook is Frankie MacDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD94. My Threads is Frankie MacD94. My TikTok is FrankDon94. My Clapper is FrankDon94. My Twitch is FrankDon94. My Snapchat is Frankie MECDON. My YouTube channel is Dogs and Wolves. And my LinkedIn is Frankie MacDonald. Best luck to you. I'm Frankie Don. You're listening to Comedeorological Weather Report every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic.
You have anything quick, Karen?
No, I am good. I learned
Okay.
a lot tonight.
Okay, this Comedeorological Report. I'm Joey Only up here in Wells, BC. We had, of course, everybody. We had Frankie, we had Brandon Hauk, we had Ronnie, Greg Allen from Vancouver, we had Mike McGregor, we had John Clarke, our special guest. We had Imogen Cookie Bailey here with us, a producer. We also had some quips thrown in from Kelly Green and meteorologist Mark. I want to thank you very much for coming on, John. A very interesting conversation, and I very much agree with you, which is why we're having it, because I feel like if there's no effort to stop this, there's going to come to a point where you have to do something to stop it.
That means Base Guy Show is going to be back on really, really, really soon.
Base Guy Show is going to be back on really, really soon. That's the show for this week. Unless you're watching the live stream. That's the show, Frankie.
That's the show.
That's the
I'll
show.
see you on Kinsu Club on Wednesday.
I'll see you there, buddy. That's the show. Well, we're still live streaming. So that's
All right.
That is good stuff, man. A lot of comments here in the chat that I haven't looked at, but it seems like people are feeling this one. It's good. Good. Thanks for all the
Really
comments.
good. I got to run. It was great to see everybody. John, nice to meet you, and loved what you had to say.
Hey, thanks.
Are we going to be seeing more of you now, Joe? That season's over.
Yeah, you should be seeing me. I mean, there'll be a few spots here and there where I probably won't, but no, I'm pretty free to be back with you guys. It's been a long time, so
that's great news. Well, 'cause you're always playing hockey on Thursday nights.
I was playing hockey Thursday night, so that still sort of may happen, but I'm sure there's going to be days where I'm not. So I'll get my.
Good thing you tore your groin. Now you're on the show instead.
Oh, my groin! Oh. All right, later, everybody.
See you, Joe.
Hey.
All right. So some good news. I found the old letter. One of my favorite letters.
All right.
Way back when, years ago, that he sent.
Let's see it.
All right, here we go. I did post it in the chat. So here we are. This is for the post show, this one. All right. So dude here wrote sexually explicit song on 101.1. He highlighted them as well. So he had his highlighter, his felt pen there. Played from 1:49 to 1:50 a.m. And then he highlights banging on the bathroom door, butt naked on the bathroom floor. Caught me with the girl next door. This is the type of shit 101.1 plays at night. Talk about disgusting, totally vulgar. New Cap Radio's gonna hear from about that one.
You haven't heard community radio. Campus radio is 5 times worse, man. I've listened to CKW, and there's some of the stuff they play on there is like, that's the cleanest version. That is the cleanest you're gonna get. So they should probably be quite happy for that. But that is hilarious, Brandon.
I knew I saved that one somewhere.
Have you had any
There
more
it is.
complaints other than that one over the years, or is that the only one you've had?
Oh, where'd it
with
go?
that?
Dope. I lost it. And now I got your heads in the way. Where is it? There you go.
There we go. So yeah.
Oh, that was the best today.
Talk about disgusting.
I've got to take off, folks. So
Is that
Thanks
the
so
only
much.
one you've had so far, Brandon, or has there's been other ones?
There's been other ones. Oh yes.
Thanks for coming on, John. I really
John, thank you
appreciate it.
so much.
Thanks so much, everybody. It was really interesting. It was great to hear the stuff people had to say as well. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Sean. It was nice
Thanks,
meeting
Sean.
you.
Nice to
You
meet
won't
you.
find a
Nice meeting
wackier
you.
weather show in Canada, will you?
Well, I think that's probably true, but it's still good. Thanks a lot. All the best.
See you, John. Take care,
Yes.
buddy.
Bye bye.
I do. I just love him. I do have for a long time. I remember sitting in Ottawa together there during a G8 summit that was going on over 20 years ago, and we were having beers, and he was having a Guinness, and he just had me in stitches telling stories. He's just fucking so perfect.
So,
And
Trudeau's...
they did some crazy stuff, man. You know, like I'm telling you, like we set up that campaign to shut down Bay Street in Ontario to stop the Mike Harris government. And at 3:30 that morning, as everyone's descending into Toronto to shut down Bay Street, and they thought there was going to be a riot, man. They're terrified. And suddenly Mike Harris is announcing his resignation for personal reasons, right? It's like, yeah, that wasn't politically timed at all. And it was chaos. It was awesome, man. There's stories there, taking squats and housing people in abandoned buildings, and OCAP really fought. They really did it. So it's like, we want to talk about community organizations who stood to gain nothing personally, but went out and fought for people. You know, people who were getting evicted. OCAP would they'd organize these legal teams that would go to a tenancy court for people, or you know, and stop people's evictions, because evictions were out of control in Toronto after the changes in policy, right? Or yeah, things like that. Someone was getting turfed to the streets basically by a welfare cut, and they'd go into that office with 15 people and demand to see the manager. Well, we're not leaving until this is sorted. By the way, here's the rules that you are breaking. Give this person their money. You know, they fought for people, man. Right?
Totally.
That's the sort of like down to earth view of politics I have. Right?
I have compassion for people who go through that phase of, you know, not having anything. I went through a period of homelessness in 2018, and it was some of the roughest times of my life because I had no one advocating for me. You know, I have disability and everything, and these apartment managers don't know that people with, you know, disabilities like myself, mental health problems, you know, stuff happens, and I can't take care of my place. You know, it's a mess. They evict you, and they're like, sorry. I'm like, well, there's got to be better supports. And that's why I'm in a supported facility now, because of all the help that I got. There are resources out there. It hurts me when I go and volunteer at Siloam, homeless shelter in Winnipeg, and there's like hundreds of people coming in for food during the lunch and dinner and breakfast times. So
Good night,
yeah,
Brandon.
it's good that you have a connection like that, Joey. It means a lot knowing that someone close to me cares about these things.
Well, it's really us and them. You know, it is. Like some of you know my story. I've been homeless before. I've been a drug addict. I grew up in relative poverty, speaking. You know, not definitely below the. We're definitely in the working class. And my single mother, and I, and a dad who went to prison. You know, I understand. The world was always tilted against me. You know, in a way that even if I could financially overcome the position I was in, the damage it did to me personally and emotionally made it. You know, here I am a sober man, and saying, well, that's, you know, there's some personal solutions, but I think what John's getting at is you need some sort of collective strategy here to impact the bigger picture, because nothing's just going to be given to us. Nothing's going to change on its own. You know, it's true we can decide what to buy and what not to, but in the end, that doesn't change the overall system. It's like, you know, I said this before. People were like, well, you could you know, because people say, well, I'm not really off grid, but my consumption of energy and whatnot is very low here. I wood stove only, and you know, I don't feel like I'm responsible for the world being the way it is. And if I went completely offline, it would be no different than if I died. That's the amount of impact I'd have.
Yeah.
Suddenly I'm not participating. Well, the system is used to people just not participating. I mean, there's a certain point at which it's a tipping scale, and obviously they have to make changes for their investors to be happy about the amount of money coming in. I get that, right?
But
Hey
it's
guys,
like,
I'm off to bed.
Good night,
okay,
Karen.
good night, Karen.
Love y'all. You guys have a
Love-
good night. Thank
See
you.
you.
You too.
Love you too, comrade. Thanks for all the hard work on Weather Watchers, Karen.
It's like here in town, we have this guy that he used to be an addict and he's gotten himself cleaned up and he still looks a bit scruffy and he, you know, lives in a rundown shack and he drives a car that's always on its last legs, but he is a crucial part of the community, giving the homeless people rides to the shelter to get their stuff and all this kind of stuff. And he hardly ever gets noticed about it. Last week, his car got stolen. What do you know? Well, the police say they're not even going to even look for it. It's an old piece of junk. Go get something new. He doesn't have money to buy another car. He lost all his income on that deal.
Wow.
Get a fundraiser going for him.
Well, John
Yeah.
made good
Well,
good points
we're
in the
talking about
past.
it here. Yeah.
John pointed good points in the past, like, you know, back 20, 25 years ago when I was really involved in anti-poverty activism. Oh shit, where was I going? Yeah, so there's cases like this in Toronto because the Harris era, they cut rent decontrol, vacancy decontrol. Landlords could just start jacking rents, and people started getting evicted like crazy. It was a purposeful change. It was a policy change that happened. At the same time, they made a 21.6 cut to welfare and social services, and rents went up, and they didn't have money, and they went to the street, right? So he had stories that he was telling us about one character in particular whose wife had contracted cancer. So in the struggle, because he refused to leave her, he refused to just go to work. In the struggle until she died, he ended up basically going through his whole life savings. And at the end of it, she died. He ended up on the street and he died. A guy who worked his whole life. And there's a lot of stories like that. So you can easily say, well, it's just guys like you, Joey, that grew up in poverty and had their ass kicked too many fucking times and they can't get their shit together. Oh, I'm lucky. I'm lucky, guys. I got put through hell in life, but I'm lucky because I had something a lot of people don't have, which is I'm just gonna say this not to sound like an asshole, but I'm brilliant, okay, and creative, and I have vision, and I couldn't. Every time I'd get to the bottom, I still had the ability, no matter how much I hated myself and wanted to die, to see something that other people don't have the skills and coping mechanisms to do. And that's the only reason I survived it. And I'm just telling you that straight up.
And that's not blowing your horn, Joey. That's saying that you had vision and you wish you could help other people get vision, but you understand that some don't have it. And that's a point.
Here, can I jump in?
I've also been in that same road too, Joey. I want people to find ways to deal with their problems so they can, overcome them. And I have found some really grateful, hopeful tools that I might help and show other people someday. From a practical sense, from a spiritual sense, some people may not, agree with me on some aspects of spirituality, but everybody has their own choice in that. And that's why I think that we should be helping people when they're at their worst, because usually sometimes what we go through, we can help other people, if they're going through that same thing. So it's important that you brought that up. And that's kind of being autistic. It's kind of hard to relate to these things, but I can see them through a better light as I get older and start to understand it more. So it means a lot to have you guys here.
And we're going to go to Ronnie here in a second. The other thing I had was a lot of community love from a lot of people, a lot of emotional support in that way. My old friend Ronnie Grigg.
Yeah, this is a really cool conversation. I like what John, that he has, like an essay that you can point to and go, think about this, right? Like it was really thorough. And when the critique of capitalism and the system like we've been given and all this stuff, and talking about system change, the you know people in power, it's against their self-interest to change the system, right? And so then when I go to solutions, I'm like, okay, how do we who like are pointing out that the system is broken, and we don't have power. We either have to take power or find change within the means that we're given, right? And but railing against the people, hey, oppressor, punish yourself, or you know what I mean? Like to me, I feel tired by that, right? Like by the um telling a system that doesn't want to change, right? And expecting them to.
I understand from your perspective why you feel that way.
I agree with you, Ronnie.
You watched enough people die. I get it.
Yeah, and you know what? I think, Joey, what you're doing with this don't make me say this twice, Comedeorological report.
I always say Comedeorological.
Comedeorological. Orological.
But this is a way of not of saying I'm not participating in that. We're gathering a little group and we're gonna have fun doing it, but we're gonna say the truth, and you know what I mean. Like this is an example of that, right?
Well, I feel like this is an extension.
Sorry,
my YouTube channel is an extension of Weather. Sorry, Mike. My YouTube channel is an extension of Weather Watchers. Weather Watchers. It's a community plan. Of course, I'm trying to make some income off of it. However, I'm not trying to make a business out of it. That's a big difference, right? I believe that this information should freely go out.
Right.
That's what I have to give. And like I've said this before, and people will understand this. Like if I was sitting here and going, wow, that's some fucking crazy snowstorm coming. Oh, well, good luck, everybody. And then a bunch of people die out in the highway that maybe wouldn't have if they'd seen a weather report that said, oh, by the way, later this afternoon, maybe get your plans done in time, blah, blah, blah. I would be an asshole. That's how I see the world. Mike?
Yeah, I have to get going in a few minutes. I just wanted to mention, I saw that next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we get a dip in temperatures near YWG. Could be close to -40 wind chill for the first of the season. So people are listening and they don't hear us next week. You might want to get everything so that you're not getting frostbite, getting out in the streets, and leaving your home without your mitts, because I've been out in -30 before without mitts, and I really regret it.
Yeah, my friend Blay lost his legs in -30.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was out in -50 in 2013 with 3 layers on, and it still got through me. So, yeah, you want to. Thanks for letting me know.
He'd be one to have on here for a cold weather episode.
Limbs at that temp.
But I don't know if that crazy French punk rocker can get through 2 sentences without swearing or talking about something inappropriate for fucking Rogers TV. But yeah, and then when I seen him after his legs were gone, like at the Wise Hall, you were probably there that night, Ronnie, and I seen there's Blair in his wheelchair, and I fucking almost cried, and he's don't cry for me, Tabernac.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Then he's out playing sledge hockey next year. Just get some
Anyways,
rest.
I'll see you guys next week. I'm gonna head out.
Okay, Mike.
Have a
You
good
take
one.
care,
You
buddy.
see you, Mike.
Thanks. Sorry
That's
for
okay.
interrupting. I'm working on that a little bit, but
You're getting a lot better, man.
Thanks,
You're doing
man.
great.
And you're also relaxed a lot more.
Thank you.
You know, like
Means a lot.
yeah, you don't seem anxious or like nervous. You're just being Mike now, and that's works.
One day at a time. That's all you gotta
Good way to
do.
be.
Yeah. No, you're doing good, buddy. Thanks for coming on. I do got to put some wood in this wood stove here in a minute too.
Yep.
I haven't
Yep.
Eaten yet today.
Yeah, I'm depleted too. It's good to see you both. I was gonna ask you if you have any tour plans, if they're starting up yet, or is that just a thought in the back of your head?
Well, it's moving away from thought.
Good.
A certain festival director messaged me and said, "Hey, it's closing day for submissions, and we don't have one from you." The other day, and I said, "Oh, hint taken, hint taken." So I filled out an application form, and if that's the case, then maybe Hilding and I together will be heading down to Penticton in
Well, I
March.
gotta
Well,
reply
if I'm
on
going
my-
to if I'm going that far, I might as well play some shows.
Yep.
Hilding, I met you at one of his Wise Hall shows. Were you
Yes.
playing? Were you playing as well, or were you just down?
Well, actually, that year I went down to investigate the homeless situation in Vancouver, and I went and played music on the street, busked for 2 or 3 weeks in Vancouver with a friend of mine.
Well, cool.
And that's it's kind of interesting that that's where I met you, because I met you at the show, but then I didn't have a chance to talk to you more about we were practically doing the same thing there, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
you never know where
Well,
Hilding will
It was a
turn up.
real interesting time.
yeah, my weather update is it's supposed to hit 0 tonight. Seeing all these like snow and sub-zero temperature reports. It's like it's supposed to hit zero for the first time tonight in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and as you
That's
know, I'd still take -10 in the interior over 0 in Vancouver.
Yeah, 0 in Vancouver.
Yeah,
You know,
well
and not just
said.
because the humidity makes it, go through your clothes, and you can't actually bundle up to stay warm in Vancouver. That's my experience. But also, then you're in Vancouver, and fuck, like, I'd rather be cold somewhere else than in Vancouver.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is cold. Well,
Yeah,
good
it's
to see you
funny.
both. I don't have to put wood in a fire, but I do have to get something to eat too.
Well, you've probably heard me say this one before, right, Ronnie? But we're down in Vancouver, and they're like, well, yeah, it must be cold living up there. And I said, well, and as I'm freezing in their basement apartment, like literally, I'm like shivering because they can't afford heat because the fucking price of everything in Vancouver is so insane. And they're just like, well, it's only 5 degrees. It's 5 degrees out. It's not cold. Like, don't turn the heat on. They're like, I'm freezing in this place. But the guy's asking me about what it's like to live up north where it's cold. And I was like, well, that's a fucking wood stove right there, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I go outside, it's cold, sure. But I come in the house, it's awesome. Like,
as a Northern Ontario boy, my winter survival plan in Vancouver is to go to thrift stores and buy wool. Wool sweaters, as much wool as I can. That's the best response to this climate down here on the coast.
yeah, it really is
Yep.
Yeah. No, I feel that those cool West Coast native sweaters.
Yeah.
Those nice knitted ones. And so like when I first got to Vancouver and I had nothing, I was like homeless. And, like when I was in what's that place called there? Is it the big Value Village? And I was in Value Village, and they had one of these native sweaters there, and for an exorbitant price. And I just was like, Walmart owns Value Village, and I was like, no way. I was too poor to afford the price, but I needed a wool sweater, so I still have the sweater. It's 22 years later.
Aren't they called like Cowichan?
That's correct.
But, yeah.
I'm not suggesting people go around stealing, but when you're homeless and you say like, cannot get hypothermia here, I got to do something.
That Value Village burned down a couple of years ago.
I heard that
2 years ago, I think. Yeah, we had like 5 fires in a year in this community. It was like, again, a trauma, for the community. There's so many like buildings burnt to the ground, and a few people died in them and stuff. It was like a tough year.
Well, in Value Village too, like nothing really replaces that. I mean, it does suck they have high prices and that they're obviously, I don't know if they're still owned by a Walmart, but they were. It's a corporate setup where they're getting free stuff and selling it to you at a marked up price. It's bullshit. But still, it serves a niche and a need in the community that is gone.
It was the closest thing to affordability here, right? For so many families, like so many families clothed their children and youth through that place for years,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's coming to 8:30.
Yep.
And seems like a sign-off time. Let's go put my meat pie in the oven finally. I can never eat before a show, still holding it's but I was saying to somebody tonight, it's because it goes back to when I had that vocal surgery 20 years ago this year, I think it was, or no, it's 2005. 20 years ago, it was coming up. I had a vocal surgery, and then after that, it's like I'd come to a gig, I'm playing across Canada, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you come to a gig and you're like, well, we got supper for the band tonight. And I was like, oh, what is it? It's like, it's pizza. I'm like, I can feel my vocal cords scraping out of my throat again, and like, it's like, I'll just have if the bars had steak and salad, I would go for that sometimes well before a meal. But anything else, bar food wise, it'd be very heavy, right? Like French fries and gravy and burgers and stuff that's like you eat that and gonna go on a stage and sing for, and you remember our shows, I'd play for 3-4 hours, and you just can't do that when you're like sitting there with a big fucking food baby sitting. It's like, it's bad for your throat, it's bad for your mojo, it's bad for your show, it's bad for your vocal quality, and it's like, so I got in this habit, but then it turned into like this weird anxiety too. It's like because I remember that summer where we went on the road as 2010. We played 65 shows in 73 or 75 days, or something like that, or 63 shows in 70 days, or something crazy stretch like that. Like we just went. And every day I was like so scared I'm gonna lose my voice because we're smoking weed and drinking whiskey all the fucking time, being idiots, and and I'm like, wake up in the morning, and I spend the whole day in the vehicle. And then the guys just start making fun of me, like, don't you make fun of me, we won't have a show tonight if I can't sing, and that was the last show of the entire year I lost of that summer tour, which was a festival in Winlaw. I lost my voice that final night. And it's just like, oh, well, fuck it. And I had nothing. It was
good
like,
times.
Yeah. And still to this day now, it's like it's showtime. Well, I can't. It's like I need to be kind of like have my energy vibrating and nervous and weak or something, it like makes me sharper. It's like I eat before a show. That's fucking stupid. But it's also very bachelor attitude now I've come into over the years, where I was saying to my friend tonight, it's like, if I have to feed myself, I guess I will. It's like nothing I could think of more stupid than toenails that never stop growing and hair that keeps coming out of my face no matter how much I try to stop it. And and then I'm fully grown adult. Why do I need to eat so much? Like, okay, one meal a day, sure. Like, have a little meal at, It's like, man, I just ate 6 hours ago. Why am I fucking hungry? This is bullshit.
Did you catch the song that I posted yesterday?
I didn't, man.
Okay, I mentioned you in it that I thought it'd be one that you would like. Yeah, and look it up on my Facebook page.
Yeah, I'll do that there.
Live run of it.
I should play at the Garlic Festival Caribou Outlaws saying, might not know this, but my logo was the Guns Ganja Garlic logo for the band for many years. For those of you who don't, Hildy knows this, but for a lot of you, the Guns Ganja Garlic logo. And I had a nickname for years, Garlic Bobcat. In fact, that was my email for many years, Garlic Bobcat at resist.ca.
I forgot about that one.
And sometimes people would put me on a poster when I'm coming to play a gig, and Joey only, the Garlic Bobcat. I like that because I like garlic, first of all. And like bobcats, I'm scrappy. I don't care if you're a great big fucking wolf. Get those whiskers out. All right, that's the show, everybody.
Okay.
Make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Come back again next week for another recording of the Comedeorological Report. I'm Joey. That's Ronnie and Hilding still here, and good to see you guys. Love you guys very much. It's good to talk to you. It's like the best part of my work week. And I got no kids this weekend, so it's the best part of my week. And so probably,
Have a good one, everyone.
I'm going to go watch hockey with my buddy tomorrow. But after, other than that, I'm probably going to not talk for like 4 days unless I'm recording a weather video.